What happens when interest rates dip, inventory shrinks, and buyers rush back into the Denver market? We've seen it before, and it looks like history is about to repeat itself this fall. Today, I will show you why Denver's fall surge is already underway, what it means for both buyers and sellers, and why timing between September and November can make or break your strategy. From shrinking days on market to the potential impact of an upcoming Fed rate cut, I'll cover the key factors that you need to know right now. But before we dive into buyer and seller strategies, let's take a look at the first real indicators that the summer lull is officially behind us. I'm Landon, and I'm a real estate agent locally here in the Denver market, and I make videos all about the Denver real estate market. So we recently just saw rates drop from 7.25% down to almost 6.5%. We had a similar dip last October during the fall, and when this happened, it triggered a little bit of a demand spike. And that surge of inventory created some good things happening as far as price goes. And that did trigger some positive appreciation last fall. Also, current inventory levels are still around 13,000 homes. Inventory typically drops to between 10 and 11,000 homes during that fall surge. Also, after the summer lull, we see days on market start to shrink again. So instead of being elongated due to all the distraction from the summertime, good weather, back to school, now buyers get locked in again after Labor Day and they start to think about real estate once again. The other thing that we have going for us is we have an 88% chance of a Federal Reserve rate cut in September, which if that Fed rate cut happens, it will probably trigger rates to go up first and then start to drip down. And when that happens, more buyers enter into the market. For every 0.25% that rates drop, 6 million new buyers in our country come into the market because of affordability increases. Fall is historically Denver's second strongest selling market, the first being February to April, and the second being mid-September to about mid-November. The early signs of Denver's fall market surge are already visible if you know where to look. After the typical summer lull where days on market increased and sales slowed, we're now seeing several indicators that signaled the start of our fall revival. If you're a buyer watching this, you might be wondering if you should jump in now or wait until winter when prices typically drop. Let's break down exactly what this fall surge means for you. So if you're a buyer, you may be wondering, does it make sense to buy in the fall or does it make more sense to just wait until the winter time? And here's what I would say. If you want more options to look at and more inventory available, the fall's still a really good time. 10 to 11,000 homes is what we expect to be on the market during the fall months. And that's a really strong number compared to about 4,000 to 5,000 last year during that same time frame. And so we've had that surge of inventory, which creates more supply in the market, which creates more motivated sellers. And usually the homeowners that are on the market during that time frame really have to sell. And so your bargaining power goes up substantially during that time of year. In contrast, if you wait till the spring, your buying power is very low because there's a lot of negotiation leverage for sellers during that time frame because it's typically one of our lowest inventory times and one of our highest buying demand times when everybody and their dog feels like they should be buying a home. That's why I always say, like, if you can buy during the other times of the year, you'll probably get a better deal. You'll probably get the house that you want because you have more options to choose from. So some of these homes will stay on the market for a while in the fall, but the good ones will sell quickly. So if you see something that you love, I wouldn't have any thoughts of waiting until next year. I would absolutely jump on something that you love because you just don't know if that same type of house is going to come around again. Also, keep in mind the interest rates change. And so if you're not happy with where rates are right now, but you can afford the payment, that's the time to buy now if you find the right home and then refinance later. Next, be aware that the fall is a fun time to buy a home. As the leaves change, as there's, sports going on, you're thinking about viewing parties and all of the get-togethers and all that stuff. The holidays create that emotion. It's really fun to buy during the fall. And I've actually moved my family twice during the fall season. So it's absolutely a great time of year to buy a home. If you're a buyer in Denver right now, you're in an interesting position. The fall market offers you some distinct advantages that neither the frenzied spring market nor the slow winter months can match. You're looking at what I call the sweet spot timing, where you still have more leverage than you would in the spring, but you'll face more competition than if you waited until December. Here's something crucial to consider. Even if current interest rates aren't exactly where you want them to be, buying now would be smarter than waiting. With economists projecting rates to potentially drop further into 2026, you can always refinance later. I've had multiple clients this year who purchased at current rates with the specific strategy of refinancing in 12 to 18 months. They secured the home that they wanted at today's prices rather than competing in what could be a much more active market next spring if rates continue to decline. Now, if you're a homeowner thinking about selling, timing becomes even more critical during the fall surge. Here's what you need to know to maximize your opportunity. Okay, so if you're comparing the inventory levels, it definitely goes down from the summer low levels. We'll see a drop off happen between now and mid-September. And so it's a time where you're not going to be competing with as many listings if you're a homeowner, but you got to hit the timing right. Usually the summer lull ends about a week after Labor Day, and it kicks up and we get buying demand that happens between mid-September to mid-November. The reason why it shuts off in mid-November is because you have a crowd that wants to get in before the holidays. And so most of those people want to get in before Thanksgiving, right? And then you've got another wave that wants to get in before Christmas. And then you have another wave that wants to get in before the end of the tax season for tax purposes. And once you get to mid to late November, you kind of miss all of those windows. And most of that crowd is gone and they're waiting until next spring, which tends to start up in February, late February. Therefore, hitting that timing window is so crucial. I've had many homeowners who have missed that timing window, come on late October, only had 2 weeks to be on the market, and then they end up taking the home off the market during the holidays so that they can actually enjoy their holiday season and then start over once they get to January or February the next year. Also, I think it's important to note that if the Fed rate does drop again, right, that's going to create more buyers into the market and bring more people that are ready to buy a home here in Denver. Another thing to mention is the emotional appeal during the holiday season is second to none. And so dress up your home for the holidays. It's important to lean into that because it is one of the best ways to sell in the fall. And it creates an atmosphere that a lot of buyers just cannot turn away from if they have the right features to match the ambiance in the home. Pricing and presentation remain very crucial. With the amount of homes that we have on the market, it's so important to stand out. Make sure you have a great marketing campaign going, and you also have the home updated and prepped to the best of your ability with great photography and nice and clean. If you're planning to sell your Denver home this year, the timing of your market entry matters. Let me put this into perspective with some hard numbers. Historically, homes that sell during the winter slowdown between December to January fetch approximately 3% less than those sold during the peak seasons. On a $700,000 home, that's a $21,000 difference left on the table. Not to mention the additional carrying costs from sitting on the market longer, especially if your home's vacant. I've seen countless sellers make the mistake of thinking end of October is a good time. End of October is still prime fall selling season, but in reality, you only have 2 weekends until the market really slows down and that good exposure goes away. If your home still needs preparation work, you need to be acting now, not next week or next month. I've seen too many sellers miss this window because their contractor delay pushed their timeline back by just 2 weeks. If you need help preparing your home, you can reach out to me immediately so that we can prioritize those improvements that will give you the best return during this critical fall window by reaching out on my number below. Understanding why timing matters so much in Denver's market is essential for both buyers and sellers. Let's break down exactly what happens when you miss this fall surge. So like I said, the fall surge typically ends by mid-November as people are going into that holiday season. And so it's important to know that winter sales, if you wait too long, you can make 3% less on your house than during the peak season. Holiday slowdown brings way fewer buyers and longer days on market. So therefore, it's the early movers that are ahead of the game once school has started that are getting after it and being ready so that you can hit the market after Labor Day that gain the full advantages of the fall market. Understand that the only people buying during the winter months are typically the ones that absolutely need to because of a job change or something that's happened in their life that has created a need. The plethora of buyers that are out there normally exists in those peak months, which are the spring and the fall months that I mentioned. Let me explain why timing is so critical in Denver's seasonal market, especially as we enter into the fall surge. The shift from active fall market to winter slowdown isn't gradual. It's surprisingly abrupt. After mid-November, buyer activity drops off dramatically as people shift their focus to holidays, travel, and family gatherings. This isn't just anecdotal. The data consistently shows this pattern year after year. The financial implications of this timing are substantial. Homes that sell during the winter months, from December to January, typically sell for around 3% less than those who sell during peak seasons. On Denver's average home price, that's tens of thousands of dollars, directly impacting your bottom line. Beyond price, the time of market can double or triple during winter months, meaning more carrying costs, more showing hassles, and more stress during what should be an enjoyable holiday season. What makes the timing factor even more important is the psychological shift that happens with buyers. Fall buyers are often making lifestyle choices. They want to be in their new home for the holidays. They're excited about the move, and they're generally more emotionally connected to the purchase. Winter buyers, by contrast, are frequently purchasing out of necessity, job relocations, major life changes, or other situations that force a move during the least convenient time of year after their bank accounts and pockets have been drained by the holidays. This fundamental difference in buyer motivation directly impacts their approach to negotiations and price sensitivity. For sellers, trying to show your home during the holiday season creates additional complications. You're decorating, hosting family gatherings, and trying to maintain that perfect showing condition while actually living your life during the busiest time of year. I've had clients tell me that maintaining showing-ready conditions during December was one of the most stressful experiences they've ever had. The smart play is to position yourself ahead of this curve. Either be sold before the holidays or wait until January when the market begins its gradual climb towards spring. One thing that's important to know, and I've had this happen before, is when homeowners get on the market too late, and let's say they're on the market for 30 or 60 days before the holidays come, and they want to take their home off the market. If you are off the market and expired for 31 days in the MLS system, you can come back on the MLS as a brand new fresh listing with 0 days on market, which makes a huge difference compared to being on for 60 days and everyone that's looking at your listing online is wondering, what's wrong with this house? Why hasn't it sold? There must be something wrong with the condition, or it must be overpriced. Buyers jump to conclusions very quickly when there's a high number of days on market. And people are absolutely paying attention on that. On the MLS, realtors are paying attention on that, and also on Zillow and Homes.com, Realtor.com. When you see this home's been posted for this many days, you start to wonder. And so once that home is washed out of the MLS for 31 days, it can come back on and it's brand new with a clean slate. And oftentimes that's the best way to go so that you can enjoy the holidays if you're a homeowner and then take advantage of that spring market once you come back on the market. And oftentimes I've had cases where a home sits for 30 days in the winter and then it comes back on in the spring and it sells in the first or second weekend just because the times have changed and it's a better season than it was before. If you're thinking about buying or selling in the next few months, now is the time to start planning your strategy. The fall surge window is narrow, and preparation is key to success. Reach out to me directly using the contact information below, and let's develop a customized approach that takes advantage of Denver's seasonal patterns. If you're curious about what's really driving Denver's market right now, you'll definitely want to watch my next video. Why are sellers getting desperate? I break down the price cuts, concessions, and behind the scenes reasons homeowners are struggling to sell. Click right here, and I'll see you on the next one.